Welcome. In this session of Yojana, we would talk about some of the important aspects, for example, Kusum scheme, solar mission scheme, and more importantly, the idea of Indian knowledge system in cooking. So, those are some of the important topics. So, PM Kusum is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Urja Surakshan Evam Uthan Mahabhiyan, and this focuses on providing solar panelings for agriculture and irrigation to the farmers in India. The farmers can use that, reduce their electricity bills, and at the same time they can actually sell the additional solar power to the discoms and increase their earnings. So this was the idea under Kusum scheme. The details have been cited here. Now this would be again important. So under this, adoption of the solar pumps, and the idea would be this solar pumps would also reduce the carbon dioxide emissions, would replace the millions of diesel and electric ground pumps which are there, and increase would bring in reduction in the government burden on the energy subsidies that government is providing for electricity and the cost of diesel. So again, this is a great way to shift towards renewable source of energy. The next is, so under this there were distributions of solar pumps across various states. The highest notations have been seen in the regions of Chhattisgarh and Rajasthan, followed by Maharashtra and Haryana. The next is National Solar Mission. Now National Solar Mission again aims to bring in higher solar power capacity. So two important schemes, PM Kusum we already talked about, then PM Surya Ghar, which focuses on Muft Bijli Yojana, Make in India campaign, and production linked incentives would promote domestic solar manufacturing. And there would be three phases which have been earmarked for the National Solar Mission and its deployment. The manufacturing would occur under the Make in India scheme with high efficiency solar photovoltaic modules that could be built, and development of solar power parks and ultra mega solar power parks. Now the next one is the Global Renewable Energy Investment Meets. This has been called as Reinvest Meet, and government has been organizing it since 2015. Under this, which was recently held in Gandhinagar, the idea was to increase the investments in the field of solar energy specifically, and the projected installations, we can see the pictures have been given here for the solar panels which can be seen. By 2027 we target nearly 1 crore solar paneling. So under the PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, it would be free electricity, it would reduce the cost of electricity, reduce carbon emissions, and increase renewable energy. The eligibility is simple. The person must have a house with a roof, an Indian citizen must have a valid electricity connection, and should not get any other subsidy. But there are definitely challenges to the section, specifically for storage, power purchase and transmission, the initial cost as well. So those are some of the things that have to be taken into account. The next is PAT scheme, Perform, Achieve and Trade scheme. Now this has been one of the ideas under Viksit Bharat and Atmanirbhar Bharat to focus on the national mission for enhanced energy efficiency, to improve efficiency in various sectors, targeting energy saving certificates, reducing the carbon dioxide emissions and energy consumption, and bringing in or meeting the demands for the energy consumption. So nearly we have seen 200 gigawatts in renewable energy, making up 46% of the total installed capacity. The next is demand for energy. There are two critical strategies, renewable energy and energy efficiency. Energy and efficiency talks about continuously measuring and analyzing the uses of energy, implementation of effective measures to minimize it, and to actually reduce the overall energy demand. This conservation bill was established or released in 2022, talking about initiatives for energy intensive sectors, and having movement from incandescent bulbs to fluorescent bulbs and now to LEDs. So this whole path is a way to reduce the electricity dependence and consumption with better efficiency and trade, right? So this PAT cycle becomes very, very important. The next important topic that we would discuss is the Pragati scheme. Now Pragati is proactive governance with timely implementation with minimum government, maximum governance idea, and from grid to growth, how leadership drives the Pragati ecosystem has been the initiative. There have been 340 projects for nearly 17 lakh crore which have been established under this scheme, and Oxford study has talked about accountability and collaboration for the various various programs, bringing in developments and promoting the growth in the region, right? So CP grams for grievance redressal is one such a scheme. Now, Bolipeel rail and road bridge, which has faced delays, was completed in just 3 years under this Pragati scheme. Similarly, Jammu Kashmir Baramulla rail network, which has over years of stagnation, got completed in 2025. Navi Mumbai Airport, then we have seen the Haridaspur Pradeep rail corridor, the Dahisagar Surat section of National Highway 8. These are just few examples where we have seen the implementation of Pragati scheme and timely deployment led to quick completion of the projects in the region. The next is Smart City Mission and the role of energy efficiency. So Smart City Mission was launched back in 2015. The idea was, with these cities which contribute to 50 to 60% of the greenhouse gas emissions, we can actually transition to low carbon economy and reduce the conventional form of energy dependence by bringing in better energy efficient practices. So power demand can be monitorized, discoms could provide reliable affordable power, energy efficient buildings could be developed with 40% buildings which are considered as buildings of future to be managing the energy demand in a more appropriate way and a more healthier way. Even hospitals could actually adopt energy efficiency and sustainability. Water management, bringing in efficient water management would be another way. Through this, there would be automation, optimized pumping, renewable energy integration, and hydraulic modeling that could be adopted. Now, energy efficient waste management is again important. There are various technologies like IoT, sensor based systems, GPS, RFID for waste collection in urban areas, which has grown by 5%, along with a 3% increase in the population. That has led to nearly 430 million metric tons of waste which has been generated. With AI powered techniques, waste pyrolysis can be done, waste logistics could be segregated, transport efficiency could be enhanced, and mechanical biological treatment and refuse derived fuel processing could be actually ensured. So energy efficient transportation becomes very important, and there has been accounting for 14% of energy related carbon dioxide emissions. Now, advancements in the urban mobility, reduction of emissions, and big data analytics can play a great way in this section, right? The next is, there are various scopes for renewable energy in the rural India, and rural India accounts for a huge component, right? So under the Muft Bijli Yojana, that's the PM Surya Ghar, that's one scheme. The second is under the National Green Hydrogen Mission. We are trying to increase the capacity of green hydrogen, bringing in adaptations and implementations of renewable energy and bringing in better capacities. Similarly, developments in the field of solar energy, as we already targeted, focusing on some of the issues which can be related to green energy open access rules 2022, the green term ahead market which has been launched to enable trading of renewable energy through exchanges. Then we have focused on the various aspects which pertain to bringing in emerging areas where green hydrogen could be used. For example, steel production, shipping, energy storage, and long distance transportation. This would aim for our movement towards commitment to net zero targets and reduction of carbon dioxide emissions, and would help us leverage the technology. So scaling the green hydrogen production becomes really important. There have been 3 phases which have been given for the same, and coordinated efforts have been marked. Now, the National Green Hydrogen Mission aims to accelerate the India's green hydrogen transition by bringing in better demand, infrastructure, and policy support. Targeting 10% of the market for green hydrogen, we are focusing towards energy self-efficiency and sustainable growth, with renewable energy being brought. And there are various implementations of the project that has been done for the same. The next is biofuels. Now, biofuels is another aspect where we talked about ethanol blended petroleum, and this is one such aspect, but there is another components through which biofuels could be used. Under the national biofuel policy, we aim to replace 20% of India's diesel consumption by plant driven fuels. This would require nearly 1.4 lakh square kilometers of the land, and biodiesel blending programs have been given a boost. There has been talks about reducing the GSTs on the biofuels, talking about Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Yojana to boost advanced biofuels, increase farmer income, address environmental consumption. And then Jatropha is one such crop which is considered as hardy, drought resistance, and it is non-edible but can be used for biofuel production. So Jatropha can thrive in any arid climates, in extreme climates with rainfall only up to 20 centimeters as well. And along the railway corridors, we are now talking about restoring Jatropha. Jatropha is an excellent source for carbon sequestration as well. So it actually enhances the amount of soil carbon in the region, right? So this biofuel policy was brought in 2018 and has some of the salient features, which talks about firstly first generation bioethanol and biodiesel and advanced fuels, and then second generation ethanol, municipal solid waste, and third generation biofuels and bio CNG. So there are various categories under which this has been used and has been highly applicable, right? But there are issues again with biofuel, specifically with optimal utilization, the grants, the qualities that have to be met, the participation and farmers involvement for growing Jatropha, so that they get significant amount of revenue that could be generated. Now the next one is the Pak Shastra. Now Pak Shastra, or the culinary science is one of the important segments of Indian knowledge system, where we talk about the food practices that are really important for healthy well-being, and those have been discussed in Bhagavad Gita and Charak Samhita. So this Pak Shastra talk about the combination of the food and one's mental and physical well-being. Now this focuses on the various approaches that have been aligned with Ashtang, that is the 8 branches of Ayurveda, which have been described in Charak Samhita, and the concept. So it focuses on medicine, the Aushad, diet, Ahar, and lifestyle, Vihar, and together this along with Ayurveda and Pak Shastra can actually lead to a healthy life, and the various Sanskrit texts actually highlight the same. So there are various sources which have been focusing on the culinary art, which includes Shastra, Mansulas, Shukra Niti, and Shiv Tavatkar. Now the types of food which have been included are grains, vegetables, oil, milk, spices, honey, water, and there are 8 types of honey which have been described under the Pak Shastra. The honey produced by young large bees with a tawny color which gather nectar from various flowers is called as Makshika, and there are various other similar terms that have been used for different varieties of honey. The qualities of good cook are again mentioned from the verses in the Shema Kutu Halam. Now this actually focuses on the better qualities of the cook who is actually cooking the food, and the effects of improperly cooked food is again mentioned, because the improperly cooked food can be harmful and can act as poison. For example, if there are imperfections in rice, it could lead to retention of starch, which is the sticky substances. It could, if it is overboiled, then again it could lead to other kind of issues, and if it is prepared out of season, then again it could have certain implication. So food impacts our mind and body, and good food leads to a good mind and strengthens our memory, and that's the basic idea. Along with that, maintaining a healthy sleeping, recreation and work cycle for good mental well-being is important. Now even dining vessels have their own importance. So for example, Haima is a utensil made of gold, and it elevates any kind of dosh and improves the sight. Silver utensils are again for the 3 dosh. Similarly, bell metal utensils are useful for clearing blood and bile. Brass utensil to destroy worms and remove the dosh of cough. Similarly, iron and glass for treating swelling and jaundice. Earthen vessels for removes a kind of effluences. Wooden vessels improves appetite and actually creates more or aggravates the cough. Then crystals actually create purity and cooling effect. So those are some of the impacts that have been discussed with the culinary science. But the culinary science in itself is a huge science because, for example, the food that retains starch without being drained would turn sour, and this is called as ashran, that is the rice with excess water, and consuming this can lead to various diseases. So those are some of the things that have been mentioned. Important and an interesting topic about Indian knowledge system, but definitely we have seen the impact and the core of Indian knowledge system being rising over the years, and this would be definitely a part which could be asked in your upcoming examination. So prepare well, study well. In case you have any questions, feel free to connect on to the number below. Thanks for joining in. Have a wonderful day.